Jacob continued on his journey, and as he came close to Haran, he saw a well in a field with 3 flocks of sheep lying there beside it. There was a huge stone on the mouth of the well, and in the evening, when all the flocks were gathered, the shepherds together would remove the stone, water the sheep, and then replace the stone. The shepherds were from Haran, and they indeed knew Jacob's uncle Laban. In fact, Laban's daughter Rachel was just arriving at the well with her father's flock. When Jacob first caught sight of his beautiful cousin Rachel, he didn't wait for the other shepherds. Alone, by himself, he rolled the stone from the well and watered the flocks. Ow! Rachel was immediately taken with the stranger, as he was with her. Could this be the woman from Haran that Jacob would be taking for his wife? Jacob ran to Rachel and kissed her. He explained he was her father's relative, and she ran home to tell him. Jacob stayed in Laban's home and worked with him, and after a month, Laban said to him, "Just because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The beautiful Rachel was the younger, and the less attractive Leah was older, and Jacob had fallen in love with Rachel. So he made a bargain with Laban. "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." And Laban agreed. The 7 years seemed to Jacob but a few days because of his love for Rachel. And after the 7 years had passed, he went to Laban and said, "Give me Rachel as my wife, that I may consummate my marriage with her." Laban agreed and prepared a huge feast. On the wedding night, there was great joy and celebration. There was music, dancing, and lavishly prepared food and wine. During the ceremony, and in the tradition of the times, the bride was veiled, and what Jacob did not realize was that Laban had tricked him. Behind the wedding veil was not Rachel, whom he loved, but Leah, her sister. For 7 years Jacob had dreamed about this day, and he was perhaps the most excited of all who had come to celebrate with him. He ate and drank and danced and partied through the day and on into the night. Not for one moment did Jacob suspect that Laban would deceive him. He had no reason to doubt that he was marrying his first love, Rachel. And on his wedding night, he thought he had taken Rachel into his tent. Jacob did not discover until the next morning that he had consummated the marriage not with Rachel, but with her older sister Leah. He was devastated. "What is this you have done to me?" cried Jacob to Laban. "Did I not serve you for 7 years for Rachel?" Laban calmly explained that local custom required that the older daughter be married first. However, he told Jacob if he would finish the bridal week with Leah, he would give him Rachel, if he would serve him for another 7 years. Jacob agreed. After the week with Leah, Jacob married Rachel and served his uncle another 7 years. Leah, the unloved wife, proved to be fertile, while the much-loved Rachel did not conceive for many years. Leah had 4 sons, Reuben, and Simeon, and Levi, and Judah. But like Sarah and Rebekah before her, Rachel also had difficulty conceiving a child. Since she failed to bear children, she became envious of her sister and offered her maidservant Bilhah to Jacob, that she may have children through her. Bilhah conceived and gave birth to Dan, and then a second son, Naphtali. And when Leah ceased to have children, she offered her maidservant Zilpah to Jacob. And she bore Jacob 2 sons, Gad and Asher. Leah then bore 2 more sons, Issachar and Zebulun, and a daughter, Dinah. Then, finally, God remembered Rachel. He heard her prayers, and she bore a son, and this child they named Joseph. All told, 11 of the 12 ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel were born during Jacob's 20 years of exile. Benjamin was yet to be born. After Joseph was born, Jacob spent 6 more years working for Laban. He was awaiting his mother's message that it was safe to return to his homeland, and he wanted to provide for his own household. For his wages, Jacob made an unusual request of Laban. In Genesis 30:31, Jacob says,
"You shall not give me anything. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages."
Laban agreed to the bargain, and Jacob left reassured. Once again, however, Laban tried to deceive Jacob. As soon as they parted, Laban had his sons remove every one of those animals from his flock. This time, Jacob realized he was being cheated, and he had to protect himself from Laban and his kinsmen. God was watching over Jacob, however, and he saw to it that despite Laban's underhanded ways, Jacob's flocks grew larger and stronger, and Jacob became prosperous. The more prosperous he became, the more envious Laban and his kinsmen became. In Genesis 31:3, the Lord said to Jacob,
"Return to the land of your fathers, where you were born, and I will be with you."
Jacob then told Leah and Rachel about his plans to leave Laban. He also told them about a dream he had in which the angel of God said,
"I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. Leave this land at once and return to the land of your birth."
Trying to avoid a confrontation, while Laban was away shearing sheep, Jacob fled Padan Aram with his wives and children and servants and livestock and all his possessions. Before they left, and unbeknownst to anyone else, Rachel stole her father's household idols, which were precious to him, since they ensured his leadership of the family. She hid them in the saddlebags of her camel,